everyone. Thanks for tuning in the IaaS Day 2 Summit. I'm CL from Infuse AI. I'm talking about trustworthy pipeline for AI analytics today. So just a little bit background of myself. I've been an open source developer since '97, and then I created one of the distributed version control system before Git, before distributed version control system was a thing. And since 2012, I started the civic tech community called GovZero among the global civic tech movement, basically about how we use data and open source to foster transparency and improve democracy. And fast forward to what we're doing now, I started the company Infuse AI back in 2018. I'm also a father of two. So a little bit about Infuse AI. We've been doing ML ops for quite a bit. And then we have customers in research and FSI, manufacturing, healthcare, and we manage quite a few, our software managed quite a few of the data project, ML project for our customers. So to today's topic that everyone wants to make use of data, but it's not just as simple as turning data into insight or profit. Usually it involves some kind of pipeline, and then that can transform the data and then turn it into a usable state. Or more often, pretty complicated pipeline that you have multiple stages, you mesh some other data, and then you hopefully want to make use of it. But things can break quite easily because there's just so many fragile points in this whole pipeline. So what kind of bad things that are usually seen is that first of all, like distribution change, you now have data changed and then you have significantly different data from the data you've seen before. Or some of the data are incorrectly labeled that you now have this like poison data in your new data set. Or some of the data are missing or with invalid value based on like your updated upstream product or so on. So basically due to infrastructure change or any other change that cause a lot of unexpected data. And these are really hard to spot. And then when they break somewhere and then you don't know. So it's like really poor observability is now the largest problem for data and ML pipeline. And just how big is this problem? In the MIT Sloan Review article, they estimated the cost of bad data to be between 15 to 25% of revenue for most companies. And just last quarter, Unity traded on NASDAQ just reported bad data ingestion would cost them 110 million for like having that data being errored. And there's also a research that's showing most of the commonly used foundation model that are now the foundation for our ML or machine learning use cases have quite some error in the data set that use the benchmark data. So now we're seeing that you have to correct this data alongside correcting your own data. So that's where like data-centric AI really is becoming something that people talk about because you have to iterate the data that was used by the foundation model that you base on and also iterating the data yourself that have and then to make that pipeline and the AI analytics really work. So here's the summary of the kind of common data quality issues we talk about, like distribution change, stored data, missing or invalid data, or schema and semantic changes. But data quality is not a new problem. There's a lot of data quality or documentation or cleaning tools. Here I have a list of few, but I won't go too much into the details. But just like a lot of the tools are available, and then just the two most prominent tools like DBT and Great Expectation are all good in their use cases. And then like, if we have all this tool, aren't that enough that we can just test the data where they should be tested? And turn out, actually, it is quite a cross-functional and cross-team sport that you have to impose this test to be implemented across the pipeline. And often you have multiple ways to do pipelines. So like putting the test into the right place is actually pretty hard. Now, so this is why we created PipeWriter. It's an open source toolkit for automating this data checks and then suggesting tests to you. So PipeWriter is an open source toolkit for detecting data issues across pipeline that works with CI systems for continuously data quality assessment. PipeWriter makes it easy for teams to have visibility about how data are being tested. And ensure errors are caught before they cause outage in downstream data applications such as BI or ML systems. So Pipewriter automates data issue discovery and verification with a extensible and non-intrusive design. Within minutes, Pipewriter connects to your data warehouse, automatically scan for data issues, and then recommends the test alongside an insight report. Now let's take a look at some of the real world example. Here's the project we created for a real-time antigen inventory because during COVID, you kind of need to get the antigens. So now this is with so-called modern data stack, it's now really easy to put the data all together. We have the data ingestion with Airbyte, which puts everything into a table. And then we have dbt, which is the standard for data transformation, to do the downstream modeling that creates the inventory event table and also the current inventory that represents like the whole inventory for all the availability spots. And then, so what are the downstream use cases for this? So we can do analysis for like the antigen demand by region. We can create a real-time dashboard, or we can predict inventory to see where they should be restocked like more frequently. So these are like the very typical modern data project now that using these tools together. So like what can possibly go wrong? Well, turns out quite a lot. The data source can be like outdated or like to just provide like incorrect values. So here's how you use Pipewriter with it. You create init and then you say Pipewriter run, and now immediately it presents you with the data inside that's showing the distribution, and if there are like missing value, and then they can suggest that if you want to add a test to be enforced later. So the data report also comes along with the test results. So these tests can be added manually or according to the suggestion. And there are ways to create like extensible custom tests for your own data types. So here's how you will be presented with like test suggestion, where you can add a test based on the distribution. You can give it a buffer like make sure this doesn't change more than 5% for an overall distribution. And then if the tests are there, it can be displayed that the test result can be shown to you alongside the report. So Pipewriter also presents you the comparison of the two data that's assessed over a different time. And also you can configure that to test the stage data if you have a modern data setup that the data modeling are being presented as a pull request to be reviewed. So you can see the downstream data impact before potential problems go into production system. And here's how it will look like in the next version that we're working on, is that you see the data lineage alongside the test report and the actions that you should be taking. For example, if you have a downstream inventory prediction model, that will be presented with a warning that you should be updating that with the data you're training with. So like Pipewriter is available on GitHub, and then it's all about like writing and sharing and managing data quality tests that works across the pipeline. So Pipewriter can manage data quality tests across pipeline for input and output of every stage based on how they are actually being used. Allow everyone to collaborate together to enhance and enforce data quality with a shared and bottom-up approach that Pipewriter helps you to crystallize the most valuable insight of your data and collect them in a central repository. So we like to invite you to take a sneak peek at how Pipewriter actually works, and we really love to learn from you about the data issues you run into and then see how we can help solve them together. In conclusion, being able to trust the data creates efficiency across team because you can move faster and with confidence about like the data and the changes that you're making. And data stack is going to be polyglot. So there's going to be a lot of different tools, and then there's no like orchestrator or a certain tool set that's just going to be the only thing. So we need some observability solution that works across the whole system, across the stack, that can aggregate this useful information to you. When errors, when there are issues, you can really pinpoint and then really solve that. And so that's what Pipewriter is about. And then I really love to see how you would use it, and then talk to you about your use cases. Thank you very much.